What is the carrying capacity of Earth? The carrying capacity is supposed to tell you how many humans Earth can support. As you can see from this headline, some people are suggesting we've already exceeded the carrying capacity of Earth. Before I destroy this using Malay's favorite chart and his own words, let's examine the sliver of truth underlying this idea. The whole idea of the carrying capacity of Earth is nothing more than a rehash of Malthus's and Charles Darwin's ideas. Malthus, who was an ordained minister and a classical economist, argued that human population always grows faster than the food supply, which means we're always on the edge of starvation. He blamed this on human wickedness. The wickedness he was talking about was the desire to reproduce. Darwin realized that Malthus's idea applies to all animals, and this provides the selection function for evolution. Stated another way, the population of a species expands until this population is equal to the total food supply available. And it's useful to think of food as just energy available to the species. Thus, carrying capacity is just the population of the species that can be supported by that environment. I can see how this is a useful concept for ecologists dealing with wild populations such as American buffalo or elephants, but it's not really all that unique. It's something that every rancher and every farmer has to do. That is the little kernel of truth behind the carrying capacity of Earth. When it comes to humans, we measure this capacity to sustain a population by the GDP per capita. When the GDP per capita is at the starvation or Malthusian trap level, then the human population has reached its maximum. In this chart, which is Malay's favorite chart, the GDP per capita on the left before 1800 is the Malthusian trap or starvation level. Thus, we had reached the carrying capacity of Earth before 1800. Interestingly enough, Malthus wrote his thesis on human population in 1798, which means he was right for all of human history up until then. And his ideas, as modified by Darwin, are still true for all species, except for humans. If we were anywhere near the carrying capacity of Earth for humans, then you'd expect the GDP per capita to be going down towards the Malthusian trap, but instead it's just continued to go up since 1800. Here's Malay explaining this chart.
The data speaks for itself. Until the year 1800, the world's per capita GDP remained virtually constant. However, from the 19th century onwards, and thanks to the Industrial Revolution, per capita GDP multiplied by 20, lifting 90% of the global population out of poverty, even though the population itself increased eightfold. And this was only possible thanks to a convergence of fundamental values: respect for life, liberty, and property.
So according to Malay, the GDP per capita increased 20-fold since 1800 and the population increased 5-fold. This was thanks to respect for the fundamental values of life, liberty, and property. And this completely destroys the carrying capacity of Earth and completely destroys the cultural Marxist environmentalist narrative on this point. Now that we've shown that the data completely destroys the idea that we're close to the carrying capacity of Earth, we might ask ourselves, what is the carrying capacity of Earth? And why were humans the only species to escape the Malthusian trap? The obvious place to start for the second question is to ask, what is it about humans that is unique compared to every other sort of species? The answer is that humans are the only rational animal. And we use this reason to create new things, i.e. inventions, which make our lives better. And we know from new growth economics, which is one of Malay's favorite fields, that increasing levels of technology are what cause economic growth. In order to answer the question of what is the real carrying capacity of the Earth, we need to look at the work of a Russian scientist named Kardashev. He created a method of measuring a civilization's technological advancement. In this scale, a Type 1 civilization is able to harness all the energy that hits their surface of their planet or is on their planet. A Type 2 civilization can harness all the power from their solar system. A Type 3 civilization is one that can harness all the power from the local galaxy. Human civilization is not even a Type 1, it's a Type 0 civilization. According to Venice AI, humans use about 18 terawatts of energy. We receive approximately 18 times 10 to the 16th watts of energy from the sun. which means that we could have a population that's almost 10,000 times greater than today's, making the carrying capacity of Earth 80 trillion people or more.